To make it to WWE is difficult enough, but to persist in WWE is a greater challenge. So many wrestlers, managers, and other personalities have come and gone in the blink of an eye, while only a select few have stood the test of time. To have that kind of endurance speaks not only to the fortune of good health, but the additional fortune of ably navigating political waters and possessing some kind of hook that provides lasting power and turns you into a bird and helps you restore the heart of Tafiti. I'm going off topic. This video pays tribute to some of the duration kings of WWE from the mid-80s onward, those that have wrestled at the most pay-per-views of anyone in company history. Now, admittedly, this list will be a bit skewed, since wrestlers of the rock and wrestling and the early new generation era only had about 4 or 5 pay-per-views in their calendar to work with. But whatever, that's just life, I guess. So just who has wrestled the most pay-per-view matches in WWE history? Let's find out together. I'm Tom Campbell from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 WWE wrestlers with the most pay-per-view matches. Join us. Number 10, The Miz, 111 matches. Imagine watching The Real World a generation ago, starring this exuberant wrestling mark, and being told, hey, he's gonna one day become WWE champion, marry a beautiful French model and star in a reality TV series with her, and have a WWE career that spans at least a decade and a half. Now, depending on who told you this, you'd have either driven them to rehab, or you'd have said, wait, WWE, don't you mean WWF? What are you talking about? Then the conversation would have got a bit stranger. But yeah, tough enough for finalist Mike the Miz Mizanin. Seemed like a long shot to have eternal shelf life in WWE, but today he's a cornerstone of the promotion, the sort of bridge to Hollywood and reality programming that they covered. He's at once an unlikely success story, as he is precisely the kind of star WWE wants in their fold. His run of pay-per-view matches began with him getting punched into oblivion by Daniel Puder at the 2004 Armageddon. That was fun, wasn't it? And today, he's still trucking along on the SmackDown brand, having been driven somewhat mad by Bray Wyatt's home invasions. Not sure which is more painful, really. Number 9, Shawn Michaels, 116 matches. Better than most, the Heartbreak Kid has a fighting chance of wrestling on pay-per-views in 5 different decades, should he take to the ring on any given supercard in the 2020s. Before, we would have said, no, that's not necessary. He got the perfect send-off at WrestleMania 26, so 4 decades is plenty, calm down. However, now that his final match appears to have come at Crown Jewel, which is like having your final movie role come in a Police Academy sequel, we're open to one more match. Though Michaels was viewed as a promising young talent at the time of his appearance in the 1988 Survivor Series, even an ardent Rockers fan couldn't have envisioned exactly how his career would play out. The accolades, the performances, the rivalries, the WrestleMania resume, the wanton act of Stanicide, it all adds up to an unparalleled body of work. From 1988 through to 2010, save for a 4-year injury gap in the middle, Michaels worked with anyone who was anyone in WWE canon, and that fact just adds to his general timelessness. Number 8, Edge, 127 matches. Maybe the rated R superstar saw The Miz creeping up on his grand total of pay-per-view bouts, realized how Mike Mizanin's overly safe working style might guarantee him 4 or 5 more good years as a regular talent, and he thought, oh, hell no! Or maybe Edge just wanted to come back to the ring because he missed it so much. Whether he's the 24-year-old enigma that hit the SummerSlam 1998 ring like a silent crusader, or the 46-year-old Hall of Famer making his return in the Royal Rumble as a shredded Jeffrey Lebowski, we are more than happy to abide Edge. Though he wrestled on the indies for 6 years prior to becoming Edge, WWE fans feel like they've watched his entire career play out on sports entertainment's biggest stage. And getting back to The Miz for a moment, Edge certainly had it better, making his pay-per-view debut as a partner to Sable. Sure beats having your skull caved in by Daniel Puder. Number 7, Chris Jericho, 141 matches. Like Shawn Michaels, the most recent WWE pay-per-view bout for Le Champion came at a Saudi Arabia card, making a guest appearance in the Greatest Royal Rumble. Jericho could very well run out the clock on his career inside an AEW ring, but given his apparent agelessness, who's to say when Jericho will hang up the boots? You could probably think of a few people on WWE programming today that you wouldn't mind seeing Jericho spike the eye of. The list of Jericho's pay-per-view outings is quite numerous, beginning with a match against X-Pac at the 1999 Unforgiven pay-per-view, spanning throughout the Attitude, Ruthless Aggression, PG, and Reality eras to follow, with many changes to his wardrobe, demeanor, and associated props. There are wrestlers with more matches, more world titles, and more main events, but no wrestler has been the man for all seasons, quite like Y2J. Tack his WCW Paragon of Virtue run to the front of his WWE days, then add the AEW tenure after, and you've got 20 plus years of the art of Jericho. Number 6, The Big Show. 142 matches. Maybe turning face and heel more than 3 dozen times has some sort of rejuvenating benefit to it. Whether you love The Big Show or not, credit has to be given where it's due. It cannot be easy for a super heavyweight wrestler, especially one standing over 7 feet tall, to have the career that he has enjoyed. For Paul White to have persisted as a wrestler well into the modern day is damn impressive. Show is the only wrestler in this list whose first WWE pay-per-view bout came at a WrestleMania, when he battled Mankind in the undercard of the 15th installment in 1999. Since then, he's been the standard WWE go-to for one of 2 roles: the evil ogre that the hero of the day tries to overcome, or the gentle giant that chops down bullies to the delight of all. Show's mostly good health afforded him this longevity, as did the scarcity of wrestlers that could be what he is and do what he does. We sometimes take him for granted, but the Big Show is in fact one of a kind. Number 5, John Cena. 160 matches. No surprise that Big Match John is also Many Match John. The man has come back early from pectoral, neck, and knee injuries and was the tireless face of the organization for what seemed like an eternity. With that designation came an assortment of matches, many of them main events. Of course, a John Cena hater doesn't need to be told that he wrestled in lots of pay-per-view bouts. They can recall all of them with painted grimaces. It began very humbly for Cena, dressed in the most generic of attire, for his victory over Chris Jericho at the 2002 Vengeance pay-per-view. Over the 16 plus years that followed, he adjusted his attitude, he racked up world titles, he kicked out of your favorite wrestler's finisher, he kicked out of it again, he took pinfall losses that you conveniently forgot about for the sake of your red-faced strawman arguments, and proved himself to be an era-defining icon, a genuine Pantheon-level WWE star. He came a long way from being the dude Jericho once named Wacky Roll-Up Guy. Number 4, Randy Orton. 162 matches. After signing a new multi-year deal with WWE at the end of 2019, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Orton could one day be on top of this list. Given the ages of those ahead of him, minor spoiler, the Viper may ascend to the top within a year, maybe a year and a half. He doesn't even turn 40 until just before WrestleMania 36, so if his health holds up, Orton's got a clear path to the most pay-per-viewed man in WWE history. After debuting on the main roster in April of 2002, Orton didn't wrestle his first pay-per-view bout until August of 2003, taking part in the Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight title at that year's SummerSlam. It was around here, at the age of 23, that his legend killer identity took shape, putting the boots to the likes of Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, and other aging stars, whilst carving out his own legacy as a top guy. Since then, it's been virtually nothing but the best for Randall Keith, with 16 years of big matches in his portfolio. Number 3, Triple H, 170 matches. Sure, the COO may have to presently settle for bronze on this list, but he still ranks number 1 in a more important category: more skull and motorcycle entrances than any other wrestler in history. He loves a motorcycle covered in skulls. I bet he keeps them all in a shed. He cleans them on a Sunday. things were a little different 25 years ago when a much skinnier Paul Levesque was entering to a violin suite. When he made his pay-per-view debut against Bob Holly at the 1995 SummerSlam, there was no way to forecast the changeover to leather attire, to Motorhead theme song, to the aforementioned motorbikes with skulls on, and ascension into the McMahon family. And yet, here he is, at 50 years of age, wielding a hefty amount of control while still wrestling the occasional match at major events. There's no telling how many more times the game will take to the ring, but one would assume that he's not quite done yet. And you can be sure that his final match will not only be a momentous event, but he'll come out to the ring with a motorbike covered in skulls. Oh, he loves them! Number 2, The Undertaker, 172 matches. With a less steady hand, The Undertaker could have been destined for the negative end of this wrestling spectrum, where stumbling stormtroopers and dancing turkeys frolic about. An undead mortician that doesn't register pain may have been silly with a less skilled worker donning the black garb, but Mark Calloway is a phenom in more than just marketing sense. Instead of wrestle crap, The Undertaker was wrestling gold, an absolute revelation of a character, played to perfection with a nuance that only he could bring to it. First striding out to the funeral dirge at the 1990 Survivor Series, the wrestler has proven to be almost as unkillable as the character, still wrestling the occasional bout as recently as the summer of 2019. Though he slowed considerably and understandably, there were many years of brilliance within Undertaker, managing to help steal the show at WrestleManias deep into his 40s. Like Big Show, The Undertaker has had to deal with physical obstacles that beset both veteran wrestlers and giant athletes of any experience level. But there again lies the curious parallel between the man and the character. They are simply eternal. At number 1, KANE. 174 matches. In hindsight, the ladder match sequel between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon at the 1995 SummerSlam has become the second most impressive part of the show. The fact that two promising young wrestlers made their pay-per-view debuts that night and are still at least mildly relevant in WWE's universe a quarter century later has to take center stage. First, it was the future game, and then it was the evil dentist that isn't dating Adam Cole. The fact that Glenn Jacobs could survive that plaque-plagued gimmick only to endure another killer blow in the form of fake Diesel is absolutely to his credit. Even KANE, as cool and powerful a character as he is, has to put up with some daunting challenges in the role. From digging up his parents' coffins, to his relationship with Lita, to his, insatiable urge to pop a cold one. Yeah. If ever a wrestler deserved a Lifetime Achievement Award, it's Glenn Jacobs, who's not only wrestled more pay-per-view matches than anybody in WWE history, but had to shake off a lot of bad ideas along the way, and managed to fulfill his dream of getting elected into public office. God bless that man. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Cultaholic. Lastly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.